Hi, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Focus webinar. My name is Cami Van Sant. I'm Senior Assistant Director here at Undergraduate Admissions. I'm so glad you're joining us tonight to learn about one of Duke's signature programs. I'm going to give everybody a minute or two to filter into the Zoom room, but we'll look forward to seeing you in a couple minutes. Hi, everybody. For those of you who are just joining, we're so glad you're here for our Focus webinar. The numbers in the Zoom room keep rising, so I'm going to wait a minute or two before we get started, but we'll be underway here at about 7:02. Hi, everybody. For those of you who are just joining us, my name is Cami Van Sant. I'm Senior Assistant Director of Undergraduate Admissions here at Duke. I'm so excited to welcome you to tonight's Focus webinar. This is one of my very favorite events of the year, so I'm really glad you're here to learn about one of Duke's signature programs, especially for first-year students. I see some people are still going in, but I'm going to go ahead and start with some introductory material, and then I will introduce our guests and bring them on. So first of all, Duke encourages persons with disabilities to participate in its programs and activities. If you would like to request accommodation services for an information session or a webinar like this one, please contact Idella Hackett at idella.hackett@duke.edu or at 919-684-0186 to arrange these for a later date. I'll also remind you that this session is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel. For students, you can also find recordings of this week's webinars on your Choose Duke portal in a few days. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guests. We're so fortunate to have here leadership from Duke's Focus program. We have with us Dr. Edna Andrews, who's the director of Focus, and also Nancy and Jeffrey Marcus, distinguished professor. And alongside Dr. Andrews, we have Denise Stratton, who is Senior Program Coordinator for Duke Focus. And we have another guest who I have not met as well, but maybe we'll meet that guest too. But I'm going to hand things over to you all, who will also introduce our student guests here today.
Good evening. Hi, I thought Denise was going to start. Hi, I'm Edna Andrews. I'm the director of the Focus program. It's one of the most exciting programs in the United States, and I'm not exaggerating. Small group learning, primary research. You have wonderful interactions in class, outside of class. We have a dinner seminar once a week where we not only enjoy each other, but we bring interesting people to come and talk to us from all over the university. And we have field trips and other kinds of special events to enhance the interactions. The topics for the seminars are broad and wide. We cover the natural sciences, the biological sciences, the empirical sciences, the social sciences, and the humanities. So I'd like to introduce Denise Stratton. She is our senior program coordinator, and she's the one that you may have already been in contact with as you enroll for your fall classes. Denise?
Yes, thank you, Edna. I'm happy to be here, and I've already, as Edna said, I've already spoken to so many of you, and I hope you enjoyed tonight's session. And if you continue to have questions, you can feel free to contact us by email at our Focus address, focus@duke.edu. We'd be glad to answer your questions. Yeah, as Edna said, Focus is a terrific program. You can't, again, we sound like we're biased, but I guess we are, because you really can't fail by joining the Focus program.
Next slide. Who's doing the slides?
Oh, I
Okay.
guess I will.
So
So,
this is a big deal, guys. Howard Gardner is one of the most well-known educational psychologists in the United States. You may have heard of him. When he published his important book on multiple intelligences. Well, a few years ago, Dr. Gardner brought a team of experts from Harvard to come and visit different universities, but in particular came to Duke. And he had no intention of talking to Focus. It just happened serendipitously because everybody he talked to, the students, faculty, kept mentioning the Focus program. So he actually came and talked to us as well. And this wonderful book published by MIT Press this past year, The Real World of College, he talks about what the goals of undergraduate education should be in the United States. And one of the things he values is called transformational education, not transactional, but it's supposed to change the quality of your life and not just the paycheck you're going to get at the end of your career, but a whole full-bodied life. And the Focus program is one of the top programs in the country, and he mentions as an example of transformational education. It's a great book, by the way, just in general. I would highly recommend it. Next slide. Next, there we go. So you probably want to know, I'm sure many of you already have your, have your priorities about what you want to do when you get here. Many of you may already think you have chosen your major, and you may have. Duke is a wonderful place where you can do not only a single major, but you can do double majors. You can do majors and minors. You can do majors, minors, and certificates. There's an awful lot of mixing and matching, but we don't actually let you declare until the end of your first year. And there's a reason for it, because we want to expose you to what the university has to offer. And it is a different experience than high school. Focus is 2 courses only, just 2 out of your 4. It's only the fall semester. What's special about these classes? They're small group learning. This is really so important. You get to know everyone across your classes, within your classes, and the 4 faculty. So if you're in a group of 36 in the cluster, you're in 18-person classes, 2, and then you will share those classes with the other members of the cluster. On the dinner evenings, you get to meet with all of the faculty. And so even though you're only in 2 of the 4 classes, you get to be exposed to additional faculty, additional research. And as a rule, we're not textbook oriented. We're interested in primary research, which is what's really happening in labs and in high-end research across the different fields of scientific research. I mentioned empirical, natural sciences, biological, social, and humanities. So it's really exciting. It's kind of hard to imagine what it's like until you get here, but our site has all the descriptions of all the clusters. Please don't just read the name of the cluster, look at the courses that are listed underneath the cluster. They're very interesting as well. You live in a wonderful living, learning community, but in Focus, you do not live in the same room with someone in Focus. You live in the same dorm with your Focus cluster, but there are 200 or 300 kids in that dorm. So 36 of you are spread out through the dorm, so you're not in any way isolated. And of course, now we have Quad X. So I'm sure you are getting some interesting perspectives. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So 1/3 of the class does Focus. 1/3 of the incoming class does Focus. And I think I've mentioned all of these things to you just now. Let's look at the stats at the bottom. For the graduating class of 2023, 31% of Focus students graduated with distinction by honors, compared to 21% of Trinity Pratt. 14% of Focus students received postgraduate merit scholarships, compared with 6% of Trinity and Pratt. These are statistics that repeat themselves every year. You start off on the right foot, and you're more successful the rest of your career at Duke. Next slide. Here is just a list of some of the recent awards since 2015 that focus students have: Rhodes, Marshall, Truman, Schwartzman, Gates, Cambridge, Beneke, Goldwater, Udall scholarships, Boren, critical languages, Gilman, Humanity in Action, Baldwin Scholars, Wang Fellows, Nakayama Public Service Scholarships. This is a lot of different, you can see it's a very broadly spanning group of fellowships and scholarships. I believe we also have Fulbright, but I don't see it in the list. And the next slide would show you, I think, faculty awards. If you look across, there are a lot of distinguished professors that teach in 22 to be specific. The MacArthur Genius Award Fellowship, we have faculty that have won that. Service awards, excellence in teaching, the Cox Award, Johnson Loveland, the University Scholar Teacher Award, which is the top award that the president gives across all schools. So the people that you're going to meet in the classroom are people that you can work with for the rest of your career if you want to. You don't have to, but they'll be there to write letters of recommendation for you, and they can help you along your path to a successful career that may have nothing to do with the focus group that you actually signed up for. The good thing about focus is it gets you on the right path. You always get credit for anything you do in focus, because the worst case scenario, it counts for general requirements, but it also counts for majors, minors, and certificates, depending on the cluster. Next slide. So these are the names of the 16 clusters we're offering in the fall. Every year we have new clusters. We have continuing clusters. The new cluster for this fall is working with evidence, data, archives, and justice. The other clusters were offered last year, and we have a couple of other clusters that cycled off but are coming back again in 2025. So all of this is on the website. Just go and read about the clusters and the courses in the clusters. That's what's so exciting. Don't look at just the name. Look at the actual courses. Next.
These are the same stats that we just
Okay.
read.
So let's look at the other. So we talked about those stats. Yeah, here we go. So if you look at stats across the years, starting in the graduating class, the class that graduated in 2009, and you look at focus student GPAs, then you look at their graduation with distinction and merit scholars, you can see that what we're describing to you is not a one-off. This is a tradition. This is a Duke tradition. This program is a wonderful trampoline to get you into whatever it is, whether you're pre-med, your pre-law, your biology, your physics, your neuroscience, your history, any major, any discipline fits through the prism of the focus program. Denise, you want to talk about the end of year survey highlights?
Sure. Just trying to see here. So this is from the survey that's given anonymously to all of the students at the end of the year. 87% of focus students would recommend the focus program. 89% of focus students said that the living arrangements for the focus program enhance the overall experience. When I think, as Dr. Andrews said previously, when you live in, so the living arrangements, you're going to live in a dorm with, I don't know, possibly hundreds of other students, but you're going to know, depending on which cluster you're in, you're going to know 18 to 36 of them from your cluster. That means no one is going to be your roommate, but that does mean that if you need help with homework, or you have a question about something for a class, those people will probably be in your dorm, most likely be in the dorm, and you'll be able to, get in touch with them. Let me see here. 81% of focus students said that their courses were well integrated with each other. 85% said that the IDC, that's the dinner discussion, weekly dinner discussion course, It facilitated communication and interaction between students and faculty. I hear that all the time. That's when they can have presenters come in. Sometimes they go on trips during the IDC. It could be anything. Let's see, 88% said that the IDC integrated the group's themes. Let's see here. I don't have a good view of this.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can see
I mean-
it. So the bottom line is that there's a high degree of satisfaction because it's interactive. So you are seen. So if you imagine that some of your first year courses may be quite substantial in size. So imagine being in a class with 250 people as opposed to being in a class with 18 people. It's a very different experience. They're both important, but when there's a smaller group of people, you can be front and center and enjoy being seen. You're part of the group. We're in it together. We all know who's there and we enjoy each other as well. These are discussion-based experiences. You're reading things that more advanced students are expected to read, and you learn how to work with these primary research texts right from the very beginning. It gives you a real advantage in doing any of the things that you want to do. Next slide. So this is one that was well, the pandemic was unexpected, but I have to say this is something that we're really proud of and touched by. We were able to have focus during fall 2020. And students all lived on West Campus and everyone had a single. So there was a lot more isolation, as you can imagine, because it was COVID. We had to be masked in class. We had to have 6 square feet around us. It was a challenge. We were not allowed to eat together, which is one of the things that we do in building community. And I'm happy to say that in spite of all of the obstacles, we were able to actually build community in spite of COVID. And we weren't able to have outsiders come to Duke's campus at all. Duke was closed only to Duke people. But we were able to do all kinds of fascinating things via Zoom, which not my favorite, and I'm sorry we're on Zoom tonight, but we managed to get everybody together and have a real program. And I would have to say that with the kind of sensory deprivation that we all had during COVID, I'm so happy that we were able to build community in spite of it. And we did have our opening picnic outside. So everybody comes together for the beginning and we're all spread across all of the lawns on East Campus. And it was really, really wonderful. So everyone in focus is great. The students are great. The faculty are great. And you just can't go wrong. Any of the clusters, if you were to shut your eyes and pick one, that would be fine, because they're all wonderful in their own unique way. Next slide. So frequently asked questions, these are on the website, so I'm not going to read them to you, but all of the things you see here you're going to find on the website, and we've just gone through all of them. So it's only the fall. You have a living learning community, the application dates, and then we have some slides about what Focus alumni say and some quotes from students. Let's shift gears now and let some real students talk to you, though. Enough of me. So we have Carolyn Chen and Arushi Singh, and you guys decide who wants to go first. And please tell the people visiting us what you think they will want to know.
I can go first. So, hi everyone. My name is Carolyn. I am currently a sophomore, and majoring in neuroscience. And I was in the Focus program my freshman year in the Cognitive Neuroscience and Law cluster, and Dr. Andrews was one of my professors. And I feel like the biggest takeaway for me was that Focus really helped me transition from high school and going into college, and it really set me up for success for my later years at Duke. And first of all, the community of like student peers who are interested in your topic and excited to engage in discussions with you, is just really nice. And more importantly, like the close relationships you can have with your professors is very valuable in the college setting.
That was very well said. So I'm just going to add on to that. Hi, everyone. I'm Arushi Singh. I am currently a freshman. So I was in Focus last semester and I was in the Cognitive Neuroscience and Law cluster as well. I'm majoring tentatively in biomedical engineering. So I'm just going to kind of focus on talking about Focus from kind of the perspective of someone who went through it as an engineer, because I've seen some questions already about some people wondering how that can work. So I think, as Carolyn said, it really helped with the transition from high school to college. The first semester engineering schedule can be very, very jam-packed. And I feel like for me, being in Focus helped me connect a bit more with my professors, especially my Focus professors, and kind of just transition more into college, being able to breathe a little bit more freer and, launch this like deep academic like inquest into different subjects through my Focus classes. And so for me personally, my Focus classes helped me with some of my humanities requirements for Pratt. I'm not quite sure if that's how it is for every single cluster, but that's definitely something where the credit can help you out. But I didn't go into Focus thinking about the credit per se. Reading about the classes that were offered specifically, I think that was what really sold it for me. And taking the classes, I can definitely say that it was worth it for me. I got to explore so deeply, like so many subjects. And I feel like even if I hadn't received the credit that I did, I would have been very, very glad to be a part of Focus.
Amazing. So maybe we could transition into answering some questions from the audience, and sort of a mix of questions for students and for Focus leadership. So why don't we start with the topic that Arushi just addressed, which is Focus and engineering students. One particular attendee asked if there are concerns about how a particular Focus cluster would fit in with engineering requirements. What should the student do? Is there a contact they should reach out to, or how to continue pursuing that particular question?
So
Well,
I'll let Denise follow up with me, but isn't Lupita the dean?
Yes.
So you tell them about the dean of engineering. So the dean in engineering that works with you is outstanding. And any questions you would have about Focus, you can ask of your engineering dean. Of course, we're happy to talk to you too, but engineers like to talk to their own administration. Denise?
Right. I was just going to suggest the same thing. I was going to say that the best thing to do if you have any concerns is to contact your dean and go over your background with her. And, as Arushi was saying, if there is an issue, everyone comes with a different background to Duke. You're all high achievers, but you all have different backgrounds. So you can speak with your dean and you can see how Focus will fit into your career path.
Also, Professor Nico Holtz can also help you. He teaches in Focus regularly. He's not teaching in Focus this fall, but he's coming back again. And he knows all the ins and outs as well. I think he's DUS in one of the engineering departments.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think the main Pratt advising email is prattadvising@duke.edu with no space in it. So I would look all these things up and put them on the chat, but I have to talk on this. But prattadvising@duke.edu. So let's see what else people are asking about. So here's a good question from Jordana. How big is each Focus group typically? I know there's an outside limit, but what's sort of the average?
I would say that most of them are 36. Most of the ones we have are 36. We have one that's 18, a couple that are 27, but most are 36.
Awesome. And so those people, you probably won't be in the same classes. Your schedule won't be identical to other people in your Focus group in general, but you'll overlap in different places. Is that correct? Yes. So here's a question for students. So what is the range of people in focus groups? Does focus attract a certain type of student or a general, diverse group of people?
Focus program is more diverse than the Duke general campus. And I mean that in multiple ways. It's higher diversity for different communities. It's diversity of majors, minors, and certificates, diversity of faculty. We include the med school, Sanford School of Public Policy. We have School of the Environment. We have and we have Arts and Sciences. So it doesn't attract a particular kind of student. It attracts 500 of the first year class, and they're all very, very different. And we also now have varsity athletes in focus, including the men's basketball team. So we tend to bring, I would say, 7 or 8 teams per year have representatives in the focus program. And we also maybe even have football next year. So there is no limit to increasing diversity of communities, and we are always looking for new ways to do that.
And what are your experiences, Arushi and Carolyn?
Yeah, so I think if you even just look at the names of the focus clusters and the classes, you can clearly see that there's a wide range of study that goes on. And as such, there are many different kinds of students, interests of students that are attracted to various clusters. There were so many different majors in my cluster. I think one of the great things about Focus 2 is you're exposed to a lot of different types of thinking. Um, Everyone's coming from across the country and across the world. And Focus attracts students who want to explore deeply some kind of academic subject. So I can say that any conversation in your focus cluster is going to be a very pleasant and eye-opening one.
Yeah, I definitely agree. If anything, the one thing we share is that we're all very excited to learn about that topic, and everyone is definitely engaged in the conversations that we have with the faculty. And so even though everyone may have different academic interests or different backgrounds at home, but it definitely always adds to the discussion.
So there are a few questions about the logistics of that application process. So you can apply on the Focus website, which is focus.duke.edu. But the first question we have here, and I'll go through several, is there a higher chance of getting into your first choice cluster if you apply earlier? The deadline we know is in late May. Yes, Dr. Andrews.
Apply as early as you can. Obviously, the earlier the better, but also since we've had applications starting February 1st from early admits, regular admissions are not put in a bad position. We keep 50% of the positions open for the last half so that everybody gets a fair shake. But yes, please apply as soon as possible. If you apply the day before the end of the program, chances are going to be much fewer that you will get your first choice. So yes, please do.
So related to that, do some students apply for Focus generally and not get in?
No, everyone who wants to, so far, everyone who wants to be in focus can be in focus. You may not be in your first choice of a cluster, but you may be in your second, your third, or your fourth, but you will definitely be in focus.
Awesome. So final question for now on logistics is what are you looking for in the Focus application essays? So everyone out there should know that when you apply to Focus, you apply to 4 different clusters and you rank your choices. And for each cluster, you write an essay, but maybe it's more like a paragraph or a couple of paragraphs about your interest in those clusters. When you're reviewing applications, are you looking for in student writing? Am I right?
This is a very timely question. The first thing I would say is please submit an essay, or actually we just call them long responses. They're essays, but they're approximately 400 words. So just submit a response for each of the clusters. Even if you believe you only want to be in your top choice, just please write something for each cluster and nuanced.
4. You only apply to 4, not all the clusters. It's
No,
your
I mean your top
clusters.
4.
And
The
you
application asks
rank
you
them.
for 4.
Yes, and you rank
Yes.
them.
Yes, but sometimes students feel that they only want to send in 1. If that were to happen, they do get sent back to you and ask you to, you know, to send 3 more. We need to have an answer, a response for each cluster. And to follow up, Cami, these are not the level, you don't have to be over anxious about it. This is not the level of like an SAT, SAT writing. They just need to be thoughtful.
So I have a question for everyone, but maybe we'll start with the students, and it's about the living situation for focus students. So how is the living situation for focus students the same as or different from the living situation for non-focus students?
I guess I can start. For me, I feel like it's not too different in terms of being able to still socialize with a good plenty amount of people who aren't in your focus students. But there are definitely benefits. So with focus, we have a lot of group projects or with group learning, and just having a bunch of the students who are in your classes or even your team project teammates nearby. You can just meet in the common room in 5 minutes, and everyone will be there soon to work together. Um, but in terms of like being able to develop like strong social circles even outside of focus or within focus too, there's not that much of a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, everything Carolyn has said has been absolutely correct. Definitely, I think a lot of people come in thinking that like the only people you're gonna see is like focus students, but I think of it more as like you're just living in a building with a couple more friendly faces. You have plenty of people in your hall that are not in focus. Your roommate will not be in focus, but you know, sometimes you'll just run into someone, you know, even second semester as I am in right now. I haven't had classes with them since last semester, but you know, it's nice sometimes to just run into someone and catch up. So I think there's only benefits to the living situation.
Awesome. Similarly, kind of another logistical question is the question, how frequent are the focus courses? So are focus courses the same time commitment as standard Duke classes? Are they more? Are they less? Can you just explain how they relate to standard Duke classes?
So I would say the following. Small group learning makes learning more enjoyable. And so you learn more, but you don't actually feel like you're working more because everyone's working together. So there's much more excitement, and you can take chances. We can shift topics. I mean, the topics of these courses are really compelling and interesting. And because the classes are discussion based, we can have exciting things can happen that are not predicted in advance. If you're in a lecture course, a big class where there's a lecture and a PowerPoint, boom, 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 there's not a lot of creativity that can happen in the moment. So what I would say is that focus students typically do not feel that they have worked harder, but they have learned more. So I think that's the best of both worlds. But I'll let the others, recent students, tell you how they feel about it.
Yeah, I can start on that one. So like meeting time wise, I'm pretty sure it's exactly the same as a standard class. You meet 2 times a week per class. It's pretty standard amount, and then you have a half credit dinner added onto that. And honestly, it's just a dinner. Like we get a half credit for it, but you're not going to be doing like homework assignments. You're mostly there just to eat and learn and talk to the other people in your cluster. I will say we go pretty in depth into academic subjects. When I feel like for me, that was something that I really loved about Focus was the ability to go very deep, like very academic. I personally had never dove that deep into any type of like firsthand research, and I think that's a pro. I think that it like the structure is just pretty different in terms of the actual class, but I think it's in such a way that it's definitely a positive.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the way that they teach the subject, it definitely changed the way that I approach issues or just topics in general. Like for example, in my focus class, drugs and the law, we were able to design like a policy regarding drug use and how to better deal with the drug users in society and how the criminal justice system deals with it. And like these are all topics that I've never even thought about. And it really just says a lot about the transformative approach that Focus has. Yeah.
Thank you. I also see a couple of questions about focus field trips. So are there opportunities for focus students to sort of get outside the classroom and do different kinds of experiences?
Oh, yes. Different clusters have different traditional field trips and go to different places. They have different foci. We have several groups that travel up the East Coast. Some go down to Florida. We've had visits to the Marine Lab at Beaufort. Denise, am I leaving some destinations out?
No, you're fine. In one of the clusters last year, well, 2 years ago, took their students down to Atlanta. The music cluster went to Atlanta, and then last year they went to New York City.
Oh, right.
And then we have multiple clusters taking students to Washington, DC, where each of them have their own people who they know in DC, and they do special things with them, with the students. Let me think. Yeah, since I've been here, it's basically the East Coast, but they do so much around North Carolina as well. There's the Marine Lab, as you said, there's Blowing Rock, there's some who went to the beach, there's Greensboro. I mean, they go all over.
In Miami, the Dolphin Center.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, Carolyn, I think she was in my quad. Weren't we standing there together in the freezing water?
Yes, but it was still really fun.
Yeah, it was wonderful. The iguana in someone's suit. Yeah, do you remember there was a lizard that was in the sleeve of one of the wetsuits? Yeah, it was
Yes,
fun.
I do remember that.
It was fun. Yeah, so we do field trips, and they're wonderful places to bond and also to do something you don't typically get to do. Yeah.
And a question we get all the time is, do the field trips cost money? And no, it's brought to you by the Focus program. So you don't need additional funds for the field trips.
All right, so I have another question. So a lot of people have noticed that when they go to the Focus website and read about different clusters, clusters have more than 2 courses associated with them, right? So when you're part of Focus, you're going to take 2 Focus courses, but each cluster may have 3 or 4 possible courses. So how do students go about selecting or ranking choices for the courses within an individual cluster that interests them?
It's in the application. So you pick a cluster and you pick your top 2 choices. That's it. It's that simple. And I know that Denise does an incredible job running the rolling admissions and placements, but we try to give everyone as much as possible their first choices, period. But in terms of the 2 courses, we go out of our way to make sure that everyone gets at least 1, if not 2. So we do our best here again. We're trying to balance as well within the cluster so that people can have maximal impact in what they take. All of these classes count for, as I said, majors, minors, and certificates, and gen ed. No, my course is a neuroscience course. It also can count for linguistics, and it has a natural science code. So when you get here, you'll notice there are all of these mixing and matching that you can do, and you won't even have to worry about it because the focus courses are designed in a way that already takes care of a lot of the heavy lifting you'd have to think about in the first year.
So 2 other application related questions. So first of all, if a student applies to Focus and they do not get the cluster they were hoping to get, are they still required to do Focus, or are they able to decline that offer?
Total freedom. We commit to you, you commit to us, but your commitment is a little less hardwired. We hope that you commit to the offer that you get or not. You don't have to take it. If you do take the offer, or even your first choice, you still can change your mind. So you're not trapped by any sense of the imagination. You're a free agent. The good news is, however, 2 of your 4 classes, you're already enrolled. And you will see that, you know, there's so much competition for, it's such a relief to know that 2 of your 4 classes are taken care of. And you can relax a little bit before book bagging opens, and then you start trying to enroll for the other 2. And I'm sure Carolyn and Arushi would second me on this, because I know how stressful it is to try and get into your classes.
It's true. And this year, the registration is in August for everyone. So the focus students will have their 2 courses in their book bags in June. And everyone else will have nothing in their book bag until August. So,
And as a follow-up to that, if you are assigned courses within your Focus cluster that aren't your choices, are you able to withdraw from Focus at that point, or do you need to go through with those courses?
You can always withdraw from Focus. You're not trapped. You are free. You're coming to Duke. This is supposed to be joyful. So it's all, the cards are stacked in your favor. So you get to enroll early. You get to see what your classes would be. As I told you, we do everything possible to give you your top choices. And I can say, for example, in our Cog Neuro cluster, we mix and match so that everyone gets at least one of their top choices, if not both. So, you know, and then if you don't want it, you just say, see ya. That's fine. There will be other people on the wait list. So you're not obliged to stay. But I will tell you that when kids come to campus, when they already get to campus in August, most of them stay in Focus. They do not drop Focus. I think we were looking at, out of 500 people, maybe 10 people would drift away once they got to campus. It's not that common, but it is definitely allowed. It's just when they saw what was going on, they didn't want to. So,
well, we also allow students, what I would recommend, if you want to be in Focus, I wouldn't just drop Focus because you didn't get into the 2, if that does happen, if you don't get into both of the chosen courses, that's probably not going to happen. You're probably going to get into at least one of your choices. But nonetheless, you're allowed to ask other students within your cluster if they would like to trade with you. Now, I can't tell you which social network site the students are on, but I promise you that they're on a social network. We just don't know. We're not invited. But whatever the new one is now, I know Snapchat is old now. I don't even know what the new social media is right now. I'm on, it's not Facebook.
TikTok, I think.
10 years ago. But anyway, you're free to find someone to ask your fellow students if they like to trade classes with you. And if they would like to trade with you, all we ask is that you can email me, Denise Stratton at duke.edu, and just both of you email me and let me know that you like to trade, and we can make the trade. Easy as that. And then you don't have to withdraw from Focus.
Next question is for the students. So anonymous attendee asks, how have your Focus classes compared to standard Duke classes, also in niche topics? So I would also add to that, maybe other small group learning experiences at Duke.
I can start by saying something. So obviously I haven't gotten too far into my deep specialized classes yet, as I am just in my second semester of freshman year. I'd say thinking about something that was more comparable would be maybe my engineering 101 class, because that's a little bit smaller. You work in smaller groups. I'd say the thing that Focus specifically does exceptionally well is just the use of primary research. I think that's also something that just in first year, Duke really tries to emphasize and get across because in a lot of your classes, you're going to be doing stuff like that. So I feel like it kind of gave me an introduction into that world, the right practices and everything. Um, yeah, and I'm sure it's just as comparable to those more specialized classes. In fact, they are specialized classes, and I'm sure Carolyn has more to say about that being a year ahead of me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like definitely the thing about using primary research, even in like the more specialized classes, sometimes it's still being taught from a textbook that is slightly outdated. While in the focus classes, it's like the primary research that, so for Dr. Andrews' class, we would have research articles that are related to the topic and are very much up to date. And um, I feel like also the way that we are able to share our learning with the rest of the class. So I still have to do a lot of papers, and for me, none of my focus classes had papers. We were always able to do more like engaging ways to share our knowledge. So like I said earlier, that one group project that was designing a whole policy and then having a presentation at the end. So I think it's also a more unique way of hands-on learning that would define focus classes.
I would also add, because I did Focus in the day, that one thing that's really special about Focus is that it's all first year students. And I know that's also true of first year engineering, which Arushi referred to. But I think that was really important to be in a course with faculty members who are really interested in working with students who are transitioning from high school to college, and also being in a class with other people who are going through that experience. So I think that's a really, like, I went to a smaller high school. That's a really great way to sort of make the transition from maybe a smaller environment or an environment where you knew a lot of people into sort of the larger Duke community. So that's not something that you would experience in all sort of seminar style courses at Duke. All right, there's more questions. There are always more. So here's one that I think we had a couple months ago. And I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask Dr. Andrews and Ms. Stratton just in case I'm missing something. So when a student applies to Focus, are you only seeing their Focus application, or do you see their application to Duke? Because one person on here, and this is an interesting question, and I applaud your honesty, said that they've already written something that for their regular application that could serve as a focus essay. So are they allowed to reuse that?
So good news, we do not see your Duke application, but to be quite honest, just a couple of sentences about, there's usually a question, the cluster will have a question that you answer. It's not an essay, it's just a few sentences, but it just say what you think. You don't need to do research to answer the question. It's really about you. And so you just use your gut reaction if you want to be inspired by something you wrote in your Duke application. That's certainly your business, but this is supposed to be more spontaneous, that we just get, it's a question like, why are you attracted to this cluster? And like I said, 2 or 3 sentences, you're done. So I don't think of it as a formal essay. For me, it's just sort of a short commentary from you about what you're finding interesting about the cluster. I don't know what Arushi and Carolyn did, but remember, you're already accepted to Duke. So it's time to chill. We're not looking to eliminate you. We're just looking to see why you want to be in the group, and is that in tandem with the goals of the group itself, right? So it's really just about you. Just be yourself, and don't overthink it. It should not be an onerous task. It should be an opportunity just for you to share some additional information. Does that sound right to you guys?
What I was going to add to that was, it's also, like you're saying, it's more of a conversation, right? So these are not, as Dr. Andrews said, and I tried to say earlier, they're more long responses than essays. They're not really essays. That there are questions, And it's because the directors genuinely want to know your answer. They want to get a feeling for you. They want to get to know you on paper. There's not, as someone who has the position where I read every single essay, I just want to say, try to answer the question. There's nothing worse than reading an essay that has absolutely nothing to do with the questions. That's the worst.
Yes, and I think as the admissions person, if you want to reuse part of your essay because it's talking about an interest you have or something, that's fine, but you should acknowledge that you're doing that because self-plagiarism is a thing and you don't want to do it. Okay. But you can say, as I wrote in my essay, you know, I'm passionate about whatever. And I got a question that I wrote the answer to, but I wanted just to ask everyone else to speak to it. Our decisions that anonymous attendee believes for focus are based upon sort of what students can bring to the cluster and also their interest level in the cluster. Is that fair to say that those are some of the criteria that you're looking for when reviewing applications?
Yes. Oh, sorry, Edna.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Denise.
I was going to say, yes, absolutely. It's the directors. We don't actually, well, Dr. Andrews reads her own for her cluster, but I don't make any of the decisions. It's up to the individual cluster directors. But yes, they want to see an interest for sure. And I'll let Dr. Andrews add.
I guess here again, you're accepted to Duke. You're wonderful. I'm happy to have everybody. I don't actually think of it as a vetting process. It's a sharing process. So it gives us an idea of what it is that brought you to the table, and we know a little bit more about you. But to be quite honest, I would take anyone and everyone that I could within the parameters of small group learning, because that is the one thing that is precious. And it is one of the best things for you and for us too, to have that interpersonal interaction together. So like I don't think of myself as picking you. I sort of think of you as picking us, that, you know, and I know when we see, students who have a passion for two different things, and they find it even hard to rank first or second, we think harder with them to see where we think they might be happiest. But it's really about you. So, you know, you're Duke, you're at Duke, you have been accepted. So now we just want to find the best place for you to be happy. And we do the best we can.
So I think I'll combine a few questions into one, and then we'll have two more questions. So first question, and I think everyone might have something to say on this, is about sort of how focus interacts with research. So we've talked a little bit about how in focus courses, you often engage with primary source material rather than textbooks and things like that. But does focus sort of open up opportunities for research, or is there sometimes research involved in focus? Just what does sort of a research-oriented student need to know about focus?
I'll start. So you should be interested in research, and you should be interested in getting your feet wet in research as soon as possible. And there are many ways to do that. The best way to start is doing it in the classroom, so that we expose you to how to design research, protocol methods. I'm mainly in neuroimaging. So we do a lot of you know, exposure to not only how the technologies work, but how would you best approach designing a research project? How do you become IRB certified? There are all kinds of things that you can do in focus to get the ball rolling. It opens up many doors, because guess what? Focus faculty are involved in research, and that includes all of the research programs for undergraduates at Duke. So we are involved in Bass Connections. We're involved in Duke Engage. We're involved in labs across the institution. Now, I don't think it's a good idea for a first semester student to get into a lab. It's too much. You need to be in class. But in the classroom, you can learn all the things that will make you very attractive to a lab in the spring and the following year. So you can get your hands dirty a bit, but you remember, you're just starting your career. So teaching you best practices, and you get to think for yourself about what are the kinds of pros and cons to different protocol designs, repeatability constraints, and what detailed empirical knowledge do you have to have in order to do real analysis. These are, up front and center in many of your focus classes. And different kinds of research. If you're an archivist and you're doing historical research, you also get exposed to those best practices. So all of the courses are, I think everyone that I know that teaches in focus is actively involved in research. So it's a great beginning for you to then apply to other research opportunities at Duke.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's a great answer. I think maybe I will just do a quick lightning round and then I'll have a final question. So anonymous attendee asks, is focus on a first come, first served basis? Not strictly, but you should apply early, right? But 50% of the spaces will be held until May. And as you all know, you regular decision people out there, you have until May 1st. To decide if you want to commit to Duke. At that point, once you commit to Duke, you'll receive an email that invites you to apply to Focus. You'll also receive an email from the admissions office that includes your student ID number, and that is the ID number you need to apply. So yes, apply. If you know you want to do it, go ahead and apply, but there will still be spaces in May. Someone else asked, besides having classes unique to Focus, are there any other events, perks of being in Focus? So we talked about the field trips, which are pretty amazing, but we also talked about the dinners that are once a week with faculty and perhaps guests. I mean, you guys, like, you're going to eat dinner hopefully when you're in college, right? So why not eat it with faculty members and other people who share your interests and have that sort of set up for you? Is Focus more likely to be in a certain dorm? Well, pretty much every residence hall, if not every single residence hall, has a Focus cluster or two associated with it. So, no matter what dorm you're in, there are going to be some Focus people in it and some non-Focus people in it. And as I also understand, the Focus assignments shift every year. So it's not that like one particular residence hall always has the same Focus group in it. So you can't try to get a particular residence hall by applying to a particular Focus group. Let's see if there's anything. What is the deadline to enroll to Focus after the decision? The deadline to apply to Focus is May 25th. Do you need a student ID to apply? Yes, and you get that when you commit to Duke by email and with the subject line important information from the Duke admissions office. I've done a lot of these, as you can tell, but I'll ask the last question for everybody here. So people are asking a lot of questions like, I want to do a double major. Can I still do Focus? I want to follow the pre-med track. Can I still do Focus? And so I just wanted to make sure that everyone could, I mean, the answer to this is yes, but I want the authorities who are not me from 15 years ago to speak on this, please.
So if we talk about pre-med, for example, I know it's popular. So we offered 3 special programs. The head of neurosurgery comes and talks about concussion. One of the authors of the Duke Med School curriculum comes and talks about how to get into med schools. And it takes you through the whole journey to residencies and board exams. We had a presidential scholar from Duke Med School who has also been deeply involved in the curriculum and also in a well-rounded position. What are the pieces that you need? And this is just off the top of my head. These are people you would never get an appointment with, but you can meet them and have dinner with them. And they're lovely. So Focus brings to you people from all over Duke that are relevant to your interests. And whether it be from genetics or it's from medieval Renaissance studies, or it's virtual realities and AI. All of these things are available to you through the Focus program. And we opened up doors and access to other Duke units and other Duke faculty and groups. So I think it's a win-win. There's no downside to it. And the courses are so deeply embedded in the curriculum, you don't have to worry about them. They all count. Everything you do in Focus counts. It can't get any better than that.
Yeah, and you're required to take a lot of courses outside your major or even outside your double major. And so this sort of offers you an opportunity to do that. No one gets through Duke and takes only classes in 2 departments. You will never graduate if you only sign up for classes in 2 departments. So yes, Dr. Andrews, yeah.
Yes, and I think Focus is a great
Yeah.
avenue to double majoring, actually. I think it's one of the best ways to become a double major for all kinds of reasons. And I'm a big fan of double majors. I think Duke does it well, and the students who do them are often deeply satisfied with the outcomes.
So I want to thank all our guests for being here today and teaching us about this program. The website is focus.duke.edu. This webinar, it has been recorded and will be posted on our YouTube channel in a few days. It'll also be on the Choose Duke portal. Hope we'll see you back here tomorrow at 7 p.m. to learn about gap years. The link is in your digest email. It's also on your Choose Duke portal. And we'll have a great student panel for that as well. So thank you for spending part of your evening, morning, afternoon, depending on where you are with us. And we hope we'll see you. Oh, and yes, we'll hope we'll all see you at Blue Devil Days, but Focus will be at the department fair at 4 p.m. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.